Oops. I just pulled my webcam down. Does it still work? Just a second. Yeah, it still works. What up? Let's see, are there any more of these? No, that's about it. Okay. Alright, we'll go ahead and let's take a look at this whole, actually, let me see what I still need from UBRS, or sorry, LBRS. Are there any items from, like, the end of this raid that I really need, or can we just go and reset? Because I feel like there's almost nothing that's really good from the raid, or sorry, from this dungeon. The gloves? From what boss? Oh yeah, these gloves. But don't I already have the Fellheart gloves? Yeah, I already have Fellheart gloves. I don't need those. I guess we could just go reset. I mean, if you guys want, it's up to them. Like, they can just go, guys, go do whatever you want to do, okay? I really don't give a fuck. All right, just give me a second here. Let me go ahead. We're going to watch this video by QUIN, all right? So QUIN yesterday had the opportunity to interview one of the Blizzard developers for Diablo, lead game designer Joe Shelley. And he's going to interview him about Diablo 4. Hands of Power better than Fellheart? I don't think they are. I mean, crit chance is really good for Warlocks, especially if you're you've got Ruin, because obviously it does more damage with your crit, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to be better. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter, guys. Just do whatever you want to do. We get bored resetting. Yeah, you guys can clear the whole thing. I don't give a fuck. All right, here we go. You want Fellcloth gloves? So make sure I get all my donations, too. I don't want to miss anything else here. How do you not know about glass ceilings before that post? Bait? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't know what that is. I mean, unless you spend a lot of time, like, looking at, like, that type of, you know, like, stuff. I don't think a lot of people would know what that is. Anyway, let's watch the video. Have you seen a preach interview at the end? We're going to look at that afterwards.
So wait, I have literally 1,000 questions, and I think we have very limited time.
Okay.
I think we have just under 30 minutes.
Just under 30 minutes? Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Joe Shelley.
Joe Shelley?
Lead game designer.
Lead game designer.
Diablo 4.
Oh my god.
Right.
Okay, let's just
So he's the dude with all the answers.
The question is, Paragon levels. Are there going to be Paragon levels?
We're looking at the same kind of philosophy that applied to Diablo 3 in terms of when you log in, having, and maybe you play for 30 minutes, maybe you play for an hour, maybe you play 15 minutes, and having that mean something, like when you log out, making some kind of progress.
All right.
That philosophy that underpins Paragon levels in Diablo 3 continues to be important to us, but in terms of the exact method by which that statement will be true.
Okay.
So they're going to be called Nephilim levels. Called it. Called it. That's done. They're not going to have Paragon levels anymore, guys. They're going to be Nephilim levels. Completely different. Completely different system.
Still have work to do. We're not going to do exactly the same thing we did in Diablo 3, but we're going to do something that fulfills that same goal.
So wait, you're the lead game designer on...
Here's an idea on how to fulfill that same goal. Continue the loot idea of the best loot can drop anywhere in the game, except for maybe a few separate specific items. And the loot and the chance at getting that loot is the time that you're putting forward in the game. So if you clear one rift, you had a chance of getting a really good item. Because that's the way the game is supposed to work. That's the way the game has worked the entire time. That's the way PoE works. That's the way ARPGs are, in my opinion, supposed to work. Fucking RNG, lol W's? Yes, I'm sorry. But in ARPG, I have a different expectation of gameplay than an MMO. Yes, there's a different expectation of gameplay. It's like, do you think that I want a sports game to play the same way as an FPS? No, there's different expectations.
D4.
There are 2 lead game designers.
There's 2. Oh, okay. So you have like a lot of control over what happens?
My responsibility is to handle combat, systems, encounters, dungeons.
And you said you like the way that Paragon levels worked in Diablo 3 in terms of like keeping people playing, but you don't think it's not going to be exactly the same or anything.
Right.
So on that question, in game, like, what is it, and why would you keep playing it? Like in terms of what, you know, like you just like obviously in D3 it's just grinding.
Yeah.
Just Greaterist forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, we have a lot of endgame to build. We want when you reach endgame for you to participate in a variety of different activities. So the World Boss Shava is one activity that you might
I haven't done it yet, but
yeah, it's available in the demo. It's the first time you've been able to play, bring many people together to take down a single monster, a single boss, and it's so big that we have to pull the camera out a little bit to do it.
Yo, at least Quinn is asking good questions. Not like, why did you decide to make the game so good? When are we gonna be able to pre-order it? Oh, so I'm glad that Quinn's asking real questions. This is awesome. So yeah, I mean, a world boss. What the fuck do you mean a world boss is in-game content? You just run up there and kill him. I watched the world boss. This is something that's designed to be killed by people that have no coordination or communication at all. Like, I'm sorry, but like the world boss, I don't consider that in-game content. That's a joke.
Oh my god. Okay, so world bosses.
Well, let me say that. So we want to have a variety of activities. The world boss is one activity. Key dungeons are going to be an activity.
Okay.
Key dungeons are inspired by greater rifts.
So you're saying like
greater rifts.
key dungeons is like so you're saying GRs when you say key dungeon.
They're inspired by greater rifts, but it's a different system. And there'll be additional activities beyond that.
These key dungeons.
Yes.
Are they going to be infinitely scaling?
They will scale. I don't know if they'll infinitely scale, but they'll scale to an extent that there's no concern about reaching the maximum. Yeah.
Oh, what? Okay.
So.
That's exactly what they said with fucking greater rifts. They're not infinitely scaling because there's a limitation on the technical capacity of the processor in the game, because it can't go over 342 trillion, because then after that happens it explodes. But you can only go up to fucking 1 trillion, so it's like it effectively scales infinitely. I mean, it just okay. That's such a, like, come on, guys.
The way that this works is we have, in the world, there are hundreds of dungeons, and you can experience them at different levels, leveling up and so forth. At max level, you can get a key, and that key will be for a specific dungeon. So let's say Garenhold from the demo.
Okay.
The key, when used, transforms Garenhold for you and your party, if you choose to go in with a party, into a max level dungeon. And it has a rank on it, somewhat similar to Greater Rifts, and that rank can increase and increases the difficulty of the dungeon.
Okay, so what max level? What's the max level?
The max level.
What's the fucking, like, it increases the difficulty of the dungeon? And then what? Yes, Mythic plus dungeons, this is like a Path of Exile map, etc. Yes, we all understand the parallels. So you go into the same dungeon that you did at level 20, at level 60 or 70 or whatever the max level 100 or whatever the max level in Diablo 4 is going to be, and you kill the same bosses with what? The same mechanics? And maybe they have like one modifier, like a PoE map mod, except for PoE map mobs, there's 40 of them. And with this, there's probably only going to be 2 active. I don't know. Grinding's what Diablo is about. What the fuck are you complaining about? Here's what I'm complaining about. I'm complaining about grinding the same shit over and over and over. I think that in-game should be more dynamic. I think the problem with Diablo 3's in-game is that it's not dynamic. It doesn't feel dynamic. It feels way too repetitive.
We don't know for sure yet. It's 40 right now.
40 right now.
It could change.
Okay.
I mean, we have a long way to go.
Okay.
On top of that, the key has affixes on it.
Oh, so it's Mythic Plus. It's really similar to Mythic Plus in a lot of ways.
Okay, affixes add mechanics to the dungeon, can add mechanics to the boss fights.
Okay.
So it really changes how the dungeon plays.
Oh, wow. And in terms of mechanics, is it going to be like something that will really change it, or is it going to be like increase life by like 10%?
No,
or
it's
like,
significant. If you
like game
check out the systems and features panel tomorrow, the lead dungeon designer, Zavin, is going to talk a little bit more about that. One of the affixes, to give you an example, is this lightning pulse. It's like a obelisk of rock and lightning magic, and it follows you through the dungeon. You can't kill it, you can't stop it, and it releases periodic lightning pulses.
God, no.
To keep moving, you have to to play.
Will it kill you? Is it like a time? Is it like some sort of?
It's not a wall of death. It's an object that chases you through the dungeon.
Okay.
And it releases pulses that do a wide area of damage.
So in terms of affixes, is there going to be positive affixes?
There may be, yeah. We're really trying to experiment with all kinds of different ways to change the way that the dungeon plays and make it replayable in really different ways. So there may be. Speaking
of positive and negative affixes, when it comes to itemization, is it going to be like kiss with curse items in terms of like, are you going to have like a legendary which has some bad thing attached to it, but then it gives you some really good thing?
I don't know.
Because I really like those items personally.
Kiss curse items are really hard to design successfully. There tends to be a right answer, or there tends to be a case where you can get really badly screwed over by them. But
that's true.
Maybe. Right now, the legendaries that we have.
I feel like they had that kind of to a degree in Diablo 3. I remember, I don't know, was it Andariel's Visage that didn't have any stamina on it or any vitality on it? I forgot what the helmet was, but there are a number of items that didn't really have a lot of vitality. And I think like you can look at minus fire. Yeah, it was something like that. And it didn't have a lot of something. And so they had, and this is even in like Classic WoW. Look at Classic WoW, like Lionheart Helm is an almost Kiss Curse item, but it's a fully offensive item. So if you use Lionheart Helm, the curse that you get with that is the fact that you're not gaining by any stamina. So I think that they can do Kiss Curse items without explicitly having it be a negative affix that's associated with the piece of gear. And I think they can do that by just not giving that item as many defensive stats. PoE does that well? Yeah, to some degree, yeah.
We're ready to talk about are things that modify existing skills. So, for example, your sorceress has a teleport, and then you can get a legendary that, say, removes the cooldown on teleport. You get another legendary that, say, allows it to do a Nova area when you teleport. So you can combine those to change the way teleport works.
I see.
So that was literally in D3. Like that exact same thing was in D3, right? You'd have like, what was that, Wand of Woe, and like what was the thing that made teleport infinite? I don't remember. Like, yeah, that was and like teleport. Like there was a glyph that you'd use to teleport, and whenever you teleport to your location, you deal arcane damage. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was already Enigma. Yeah, it was already in Geom. Yeah. This was already in the game.
There are also legendaries that are equipable by a variety of classes and do other things like summon Hydras.
So far, I haven't seen anything like this, but I'm kind of worried. In Diablo 3, there's a lot of items, for example, that have multipliers on them. Which, like, if you're going to use one skill, then you're forced into basically using, like, every single multiplier item for that said skill. Is it going to be multipliers on items?
Say no.
Certainly, legendary items make the item more powerful.
Say no.
What you're probably asking about is in D3,
a 4,000% multiplier.
You know, 3,000% damage to something.
Or 10,000.
Yeah, so we're not going in that direction.
Yeah.
Good.
The legendary items.
Good.
The idea of the legendary items is that you can further modify your skills beyond that which is allowed through the skill system, through the talent system, to really customize your playstyle.
Thank fucking God. That's why Diablo 3 has such a massive fucking power scaling problem, is because you have multipliers that are scaling with multipliers. You have an ability that increases your damage by 10,000%, and then you have another gem that increases your critical strike damage by 100%. And so you multiply all these fucking things. Oh, and you have a belt that increases your damage by 100%, and all these percentages, you're going up to the fucking moon with damage, man. You're up to the fucking moon. It's too much. And that's why the scaling in D3 is so fucking bad. In original D3, it was not that bad unless you got like really, really biskier. And then like, yeah, it did become ridiculous. But it took a lot longer to get to that point.
Okay.
And we're building hundreds of legendaries.
Hundreds.
So
yeah.
So, there's lots of legendaries in Diablo 3, but you basically... you just equip a 6 hit, and then you have like 2 or 3 slots to use. It's like, okay, which rank do I want to use? Or like, you know, I have to use this helmet because that's a multiplier on it. And there's very limited choice. Are you doing that same thing where it's like, you know, in D3 it's like the illusion of choice? What's the point? Just go with sets all the way?
Yeah.
Like, because I heard there are sets. which
There
kind
are
of scares
sets.
it scares me because I hate sets.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So one of the things that, so there are a couple places where sets
What?
are really cool. One is the set look gives the ability to really live out some kind of fantasy, and there's
Yeah.
some
The
really,
Tal
really cool
Rasha
set
sets.
looks, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that when you initially
The weight of the
reach
earth.
max level and you want to sort of get into something and like get a sense of like, all right, what do I want to do? Let me
Yeah.
get some build together that can be effective.
So
Set is useful.
so for new players.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so in Diablo 4, legendaries are as or more powerful than set items.
So would
So
you say
you will graduate out of it.
whether ever
That's what they. That's what it was in Diablo 3. Legendaries are as or more powerful than set items too. Not every single piece, but like, I don't know. No, I feel like whenever I played, there were plenty of legendaries that were as powerful as set items. Yeah, sets were OP. Well, here's what I think has happened, and try to bear with me with this. I think that as time has gone on, sets have become more and more powerful, and legendaries have not become more and more powerful. So whenever I was originally playing the game, what I'm saying is true. But whenever we were fucking playing, whenever you play the game now, then yeah, I think that you guys are right. So whenever I was playing, I do think that legendaries were not, especially like in vanilla D3, like set items were not fucking these godly things that completely changed the game like they are now. But as time has gone on, Blizzard has buffed sets and made sets more powerful than the legendaries. Okay, Bull's legendary in D3 vanilla. Yeah, but that's like one example. I think there's plenty of examples that are the opposite.
be a point where a set would be the most meta thing, where like you would have like sets like, so you're saying that
I think
you'd
that's
start off
okay
with it and then you'd
sometimes.
switch them out with legendaries.
It's not all
so
the
you
time.
basically sets are just a stepping stone,
Yeah.
and then they'll be phased out. Well, not phased out, but like almost phased out.
There might be some situations where you're using a set for something, but no, the idea is not
Okay.
to have the meta be.
So you were saying they look aesthetically really cool. Can you, if you really like the set, can
Is
you
it
transmog
transmog?
that
Yeah.
set like on top of your own items? Is it going to be like transmog or anything like that?
We are looking at bringing transmog to
So you're
Diablo 4.
considering it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope they don't do it at the beginning. I hope they don't do transmog at the beginning of the game. Because, like, if you want to have a shared world, if you want to have a shared world, Joe, how is somebody going to feel like a winner whenever they go into town and they're wearing all their badass gear, and then somebody else goes into town and they look like they're wearing a bunch of badass gear? It devalues the badassness of looking like you have badass gear whenever everybody that has badass gear doesn't necessarily have badass gear. So in-game transmog only? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like transmog, it does, like, there's a visual progression. Well, no, there's a visual progression in characters. And in WoW, for example, if you saw somebody in town in classic WoW with full tier 2, you knew they were really well geared and they were badasses. But as time has gone on, that's gone away with transmog because now everybody has the ability to look really cool in the game. So if Blizzard wants to do this with Diablo 4, I hope they don't have it in on release. And they just see how players adapt and what players, you know, place value in like the social systems of the game. And then maybe they can add transmog later on if it doesn't seem to be an issue.
All right. Okay, we have a million questions. SSF. This is a really fun. You could just say no
Okay.
if it's like this, like not happening, or maybe, or like, you know, just
Okay.
SSF. Solo self-found.
So,
So
yes.
like part of XL, I mean, people like Leviathan and a bunch of other people do it in Diablo 3 where you just don't play with anyone else.
You can choose to play that way if you want. We're not going to officially support it in like a game
So
mode or something.
like no sort of game mode where you can select that. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. That's pretty big.
So there's no solo self-found. I feel like solo self-found has always been like kind of a community thing. So I can see why they're making that decision. But No solo self found equals no offline mode. They're not going to have an offline mode. Like, there's never going to be, like, the age of games with offline modes died like 5 or 7 years ago. Like, just get that out of your fucking head. There's not going to be any more offline modes.